I just had this weird vision of, I saw that picture of Morneau and Trudeau that David had at the beginning, and most of you in this room are not old enough to remember Laurel and Hardy, but there's just something about that picture that just reminded me. I just can see them playing that role, and Justin says, "Bill, this is another fine mess you've got us into." So let's examine where all of this started. It actually occurred about a couple of years ago in one of their first budgets. The Liberals were looking at ways to increase revenue and tax the wealthy. So there was a 4% higher marginal tax on income over $200,000. In Ontario, that brought the total rate up to 53.5%. Lower taxes under $200,000. TFSAs were more or less cut in half. No income splitting of salaries, which had originally been proposed by the Conservatives. Stock options were going to be fully taxed over $100,000, and at the time, they were going to change tax rates for professional corporations and the ability to income split. And a 4% higher corporate tax on passive income was implemented then. These two things were dropped in that budget. Fast forward to today, and the new and improved tax reform has been resurrected. So let's take a look at what we're considering. And this is a quote. I had written a newsletter, I guess, about 4 or 5 weeks ago when we first saw this. There's a little side story I have to tell you about how I found out about tax reform. I was traveling in Africa with my wife and my son and my daughter-in-law. We were in a very remote part of Kenya and in a safari lodge, and where they had a lot of animals, around the lodge. One of the animals was a giant pig, weighed 400 pounds, called Sausage. For some reason, Sausage took to liking me. So I don't know, maybe I hadn't taken a shower for a while, I'm not really sure, but I get this email, and their email was slow. They had a satellite phone. Basically, the internet was a bit like sucking mud through a straw. So I hear about the tax reform, so I decide I'm going to download 63 pages. That took about 4 hours. And I'm in this very small hut. I leave the door open, it's a warm day, and I hear this pitter-patter of feet, but they get louder and louder and louder. And I'm thinking, oh, this can't really be true, because I'm in a really tiny room. So if that pig runs into that room, I'm going to be slammed. And sure enough, I look at the door, and this pig is charging at this door. So I slam the door shut, close it, and bam, the door goes bam like that. Just luckily, the door holds. And I managed to keep Sausage out of my internet room. So, hour and a half or a few hours later, I've downloaded everything. I decide, okay, I leave now. I don't hear Sausage outside. I think it's safe. I can't open the door. He's hit it so hard that basically the door is completely jammed, and the only way for me to get out is to go through the window. So that's how I found out about tax reform. I'm sure you all have your own special story. This was a minister of finance that we could use. He said, "The art of taxation consists in so plucking the goose as to obtain the largest amount of feathers with the least amount of possible hissing." So this person, Jean-Baptiste Colbert, was the minister of finance to Louis XIV. This is the minister of finance that Trudeau really needs. Because obviously, if this is the guy that would make us feel good about all the extra taxes we're going to have to pay. The things being plucked, as David pointed out, include income splitting of dividends from private corporations, tax on passive income, and what is called pipeline planning, or where people through fairly sophisticated planning have converted dividends into capital gains. But the issue here is in trying to, quote, fix this area, which is considered a tax abuse, they've made it almost impossible to keep both businesses and farms within families.